In today's video, we cover 5 essential tips for keeping your guitar in tune. G'day guys, you're in the studio with Luke from GuitaristIQ.com. Thank you once again so much for joining us. As we mentioned, today is all about tuning. We're going through some of the fundamentals. Now, for me, the first thing we really need to talk about isn't the different techniques we can use to tune our guitar. It's not about the different tuners that are available that we can use. It's about one really key principle, and that is simply this. If your guitar isn't in tune with itself, it's going to find it very hard to be in tune with anything else. Tuning isn't just about what's happening on the headstock of our guitar. It's not just about getting our open strings to sit right. It's about what's happening across the entire length of our guitar neck. The first really key point when it comes to tuning is about having your guitar set up properly. Okay, we're not going to talk about all the key things that a proper setup entails, but we are going to refer to 2 elements briefly that really directly relate to how well your guitar is going to stay in tune. The first of those elements is the action of your guitar, which is the string height, and the second is the intonation of your guitar, which is the string length. Why is the height of our string important? We know that it greatly changes how the guitar neck feels to play, and setting our action is largely a thing of personal preference. But when it comes to tuning, we need to understand that either extreme can be pretty problematic. Having our action set too low means we're going to get a lot of string noise and buzz on the fretboard, which is going to mean our notes won't be clean, which is going to mean our notes won't really sustain properly. Now, if we can't strike our notes properly in the first place, we're going to have a lot of issues keeping those notes in tune. On the other extreme, if our action's too high, it means we're essentially working harder than we need to get that note down to the fret, which means we're introducing a lot of bend into the string. And as you know, when we bend the string, we're changing the pitch. Now, if we're constantly doing that to sound every note, we're obviously going to have massive pitch inconsistencies across the entire fretboard. So why is intonation important? Well, we adjust our intonation largely to compensate for how we have the action on our guitar set. What we're doing is basically balancing the pitch of each individual string across the neck. The process isn't all that complicated, but the main thing you need to understand that if our intonation isn't set properly, we can be perfectly in tune in our open strings, but as we move up the neck, we're going to have massive tuning inconsistencies. So even if you don't understand the finer points of what setting up your guitar entails, just from those 2 examples, we can see that it really has to be the foundation when it comes to not only our guitar feeling nice to play, but our guitar actually just fundamentally staying in tune. Now, the second key point we're going to talk about is understanding that our strings have a life expectancy. Dead strings don't only kill our tone, they can really kill our tuning. Saying that our strings have a life expectancy isn't just about the point at which they start to break, but can occur actually way before that point. It's about when they start sounding dull and lifeless. So why do old strings affect our tuning so much? Well, there's constant wear and tear on our guitar strings. They're always rubbing up against the frets. They're always in contact with our skin, which is going to cause corrosive buildup on our strings, which is the reason why older strings have a lot more inconsistencies in the way they feel compared to nice, smooth, new strings. These inconsistencies degrade the string and are going to affect how that string vibrates and resonates when we play a note. Now, that's obviously not only going to affect our tone, but going to have a follow-on effect on how our strings actually ring out and stay in pitch. Now, there are a couple of things we can do to combat this. The first is simply just wiping our strings down after we use our guitar. Now, we want to do this with a nice clean cloth, obviously. I just use the polished cloth that you usually get with your guitar. And the second, obviously, is about just being aware of when we need to change our strings. The third key thing we really need to be aware of when it comes to our tuning is just that new strings stretch. The only thing worse for our tuning than really old strings is brand spanking new strings. They will take a short period to stretch out and settle in. And this is just something we need to be aware of when we're restringing our guitars, especially if it's for a specific performance or studio session. So there are a couple of things we can obviously do to help out with our new strings. The first is just simply play our strings in and retune until everything sits. Obviously we can accelerate that process a little bit by actually stretching our strings in. Now, when we're stretching our strings, we're just doing this light motion between our thumb and our fingers where we're just sort of pinching and rotating the string a little bit like so. And we do this up and down each string until the pitch holds. What we're not doing is grabbing each string in the center and just trying to rip it upwards. We're not actually trying to break our strings, and we don't need to put excess tension on the neck than what's actually necessary. And of course, the other issue to be aware of when we're putting new strings on is actually how we're threading our strings through up here on the headstock. There are a few techniques for this that different people absolutely swear by, and we can go into that in further videos. But the general gist of it is we're not trying to do too little here, but we're also not trying to do too much, okay? Just winding it around once and hoping that it holds is going to be problematic. But also winding it around a whole bunch of times, so that the string overlaps and crisscrosses, is also going to cause some pretty major issues when it comes to tuning and the string actually slipping. Number 4 is a really simple one. It's just about double checking our tuning. Obviously, our thicker guitar strings are going to be causing more tension against the guitar neck. So they're the strings we start with. We tune our thicker strings and we move through to our lighter strings. But once we've done that, we want to come back and, as a general rule of thumb, just recheck our tuning. The reason we do that is when we're tuning our strings, we're essentially adjusting the whole tension of our strings against the neck. So once everything's sitting roughly in place, it is a really good idea to come back through and just make any other fine-tune adjustments that we might need. Okay, our last tip for the day has to do with always tuning up. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it means exactly what it sounds like. We always want to be tuning up to the note, not down to the note. Essentially, that means if our note's too sharp, we want to dip below pitch and then bring it up to pitch. Okay, even if we're using a drop tuning like drop D, we're wanting to drop the note below D and bring it up to D. I think I've made my point enough. Always tune up. So why is tuning up so important? Well, some people say that if we're ending on a detuning motion, we're not taking the slack out of our string properly, and we're not potentially taking the slack out of the gears of our tuning heads properly. For me, probably the main issue is just making sure our string isn't slipping or catching in the nut of the guitar. If we're ending on a detuning motion, quite often we're not balancing out the tension above the nut with the tension below the nut, which can obviously cause some tuning inconsistencies as we start playing and the string stretches itself out. General wear and tear around the nut of our guitar, or just corrosive build-up in that area, can actually cause some really big problems when it comes to tuning. That's why, sometimes when you're tuning, you might hear your guitar audibly slip out of pitch. Some guitar techs will actually use a specific powder or lubricant in the nut of your guitar to compensate for that. But in general, just making sure you're always tuning up is going to go a long way to compensate for any of those problems. Well, that's all we have for you guys today in this video. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to cover some more workarounds for helping us out with our tuning when it comes to recording our guitars, but today was just a primer on some of these essentials. So I'm hoping there was something in there for you guys. Please check us out at our website. We've just launched our mailing list, so be sure to check that out. Hit us up on Facebook. Let us know your questions and your comments. We really want you guys to be involved in this whole thing. And of course, as always, subscribe to our channel. There's going to be a button at the end for that. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your involvement. See you in the next video.